what's up, homies? It's Cat from the Monkey Making Misplaced channel, here with a Gandeeva deck profile. This is post-nerf, but this is pre the new rule changes, so it is going to be a 46-card main deck, but I will show you some options in the end, once we get that new rule change that you can add in and mess around with the ratios. But starting with the right line, we got, of course, the starter. Just any starter will do. Then we got Augie Red, the grade 1. We're playing the pure Gandeeva right line. He's the one that if your opponent has one or less rear guards, you don't have to discard to ride up, which is cool just for hand advantage. But if your opponent has 2 or more rear guards, he calls himself out, so still a body on the board. You never really get that second ability off because nobody ever wants to call a board against Gandeeva, but you know, you might find someone who doesn't know what it does and just get that effect. Then we play D-BT13. He's the one that when he's rolled upon, it makes your Gandeeva skill cost one counter blast less, which is just nice for resource management. But of course, the main boy, Gandeeva, if you don't know what he does, when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you can choose a card from your job and you may bind it face down. That'll become important in a bit. During your turn, all your friends get +2 for each face down card in your bind zone, and if your bind zone has 5 or more face down cards, he gets crit +1. So this whole deck is just like reverse Narukami, I would say, where you want to bind your own cards from the drop, and he'll get more power, and once you have 5, he gets a crit. It does allow a lot of pressure, but after the hit, it became a lot slower, which is a bit sad, but you know, it had to happen. He was a very oppressive deck, but probably by the next list, they'll give it to us back. And then his last ability, on Vanguard once per turn, you can counter blast 1, but remember in your first grade 3 turn, he'll make it free. You get to choose up to 5 of your opponent's rear guards with different grades from each other. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and retire all the chosen units with the same grade as that card is revealed. Shuffle your deck, and if you retire 1 or less, you get to draw a card, choose a card from your drop zone, and bind it face down. So, he himself feels his own ability, and if you don't get to like blow up anything, if your opponent has resist units or just didn't call a board, you still get to bind a card and draw a card. This deck just draws a lot, as you'll see, which is good just for hand advantage and being able to progress through the game. Since Gandeeva's the main boy, of course we're playing 3 more. We don't play Chalice, even though Persona Rate's pretty important, because we play, what's it called? Best Harvest. Every time your opponent's rear guard is retired, you get to draw a card, so it allows you to double dip on that draw. Really, really good. I like 3 personally. Some people play 2, some people play 4, but like, if your opponent's playing a deck that this doesn't matter, you can just pitch it for the right line, so it doesn't feel that bad. But when it does go off, it feels really great. For the other grade 3, we are playing Scarlet Flame, more general, Brabaldon. We're playing him at 2. He allows you on attack to bind a card from your hand face down and retire a unit, and if not, you get to draw a card. Pretty simple. But he was just a replacement for Sturgna. This is the card that got hit. It's a really good card, went straight from 4 to 1. On play, Soul Blast 1, when your other rear guards face down, and then the whole thing is retire one of the opponent's rear guards, and if not, you bind one of your own face down from the grave, and you get to draw a card. So hopefully he'll come back to 4 next list, but until then, we can only play the 1. And then we're playing 4 Alpha Quad. He is the multi-attacker of the deck. Very simple. Just as soon as your Gandeeva attacks, you will counterblast 1, bind him, look at the top 5, and then call a rear guard. There used to be a really cool interaction with him and Sturgna. Doesn't happen that much anymore, but you're still going to play the max 4 because it is your multi-attacker. Not much to say about him. We are still playing 3 Brachial Force. This is a card that people have been liking ever since Gandeeva came out, and for a very good reason. On hit, you can retire this unit, and I believe he retires something. Yeah, choose one of your rear guards and retire it, and he also draws you a card. Just pretty simple. There is a promo that we got that's almost identical, but it costs a counterblast, but you don't need to hit. I will go over that later, but you can always just mess with the ratios with this guy and this guy. Rug went 3 of him as well. On place, counterblast 1, the whole shtick, retire 1, and if you can't, buy 1, draw 1. I've been liking him just because it's just a cool on-body place. You can do it mid-combat with Alpha Quad, so that's really cool. And you just kind of want the Scarlet Flames because they all have that thing where they just bind cards. And remember, if you have Gandeeva on the board, you bind 2 instead of 1. Moving on to the grade 1, we are playing this new card for A Sharp. I never used to play it because we had 4 Serguint, but now that Serguint's gone, we have a lot more flexibility to play with, and I decided to play this guy just because he gets +2 for each card in your bind zone, and then if he gets +10 or more, he will retire himself at the end of the turn, which is cool because like it fills your grave, so you can continue binding with the other Scarlet Flames. I wish he had the option to bind himself, would have made him a much better card, but you can't be too choosy when you're looking for cards to play. Gandeeva. We're playing 4 Buckwind. Very simple, he is just your counter charger. Not once per turn, when your Gandeeva attacks, you will bind him and draw a card. Perfect. Some people in Japan play like the 1. I think that's insane, but I think 2 to 3 is a pretty good number, and once we get the new 50 card rule, maybe you could bump it up. And of course we're playing 3 regular PGs and the 1 Bleeds PG. This is starting to get a lot better because a lot of new grade 3s are getting the triple drive effect, like Jheva, as you will see. Time Stamping Dragon is another new one that gets it. And thanks to the triple booster, maybe a lot of people start playing the grade 4s who naturally have triple drive. And it's good against the Stride deck sets, which we are getting Shirin, Nui, and Lord. So this card will be good for a long, long time. I know it's going up in price a little bit, but if you can pick one up, definitely pick one up. Moving on to the triggers. Of course, we're playing the Dragon Empire one. This actually has a funny interaction with Alpha Quad, because Alpha Quad only cares about if your Gandeeva attacks. So if you Alpha Quad into another Alpha Quad, if like worst case scenario, you can attack with your Gandeeva again, and his effect will still proc. So that's pretty interesting. But any OT works. I just like the Dragon Empire one because Gandeeva has a natural crit, so you don't have to worry about giving him a crit with the other OTs. I decided to play 3 fronts, considering playing draws, because if you don't get the engine going, you don't draw that much, but this provides more shield value, so I've just been liking that at the moment. Plus buffing up your front row, never a bad thing. We're playing 4 8 crits. Not much to say, just some more pressure. And then of course, 4 heals. Change these however you like, but I just like the vanillas because it's always going to be a 15k shield. That's pretty much it for the deck profile, but here are some options for once we hit 50 cards. Bernala, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted. If any player's units was retired, he gets to bind himself and you get the draw card. I used to play him when the deck first came out. He got cut, but now that we have more room plus the limitation, maybe he'll see some more play again. We have Galnet from the new cycles. This guy does, when this unit is placed on rear or put on Guardian Circle, put a total of 2 cards from your soul or drop that were in the right deck into the right deck face up, and you can either draw a card or he gets 15k. I don't recommend this card too much just because you will probably bind your drop zone, but you know, just a nice little option to have. Of course, we have the grade 2 cycler, 1 pitch for the right line, soul blast, 1 draw card. I might add this just because you do 1 cards and drop and you don't really touch your soul anymore. Just kind of an investment though. They cost a lot of money nowadays. Speaking of a lot of money, Meteor Flare, an oldie but a goodie. Makes your opponent's units not have like abilities, but I don't like this card personally because just the price tag. And Bullbreamer, the card I was talking about earlier. I do like this card a lot. When he attacks a Vanguard, if you Vanguard with Scarlet Flame, so that includes your ride deck, that means you could do grade 2 with him. And this card name, this unit gets +5 until the end of the battle. And then the battle counter plus 1 to retire this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards retired. If you do not, bind a card and draw a card. This card I think I will add, and this card I will more likely add. I would definitely add these until they give us back Serguint to 4. But that's it for the deck profile, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one.